Hello everyone and welcome back to the channel. As you can see, there's not a lot left on the bench right now apart from my cup of tea, and the reason for that is because the frame and various of the parts are off for powder coating. All of the paintwork has been taken to be painted, and everything that needs chroming has been taken to the chromers. So that's what I've been doing for the last couple of days. I've been driving around the Midlands, taking those parts, dropping them off. So that leaves us with the engine and these boxes here with various ancillary components in. So there's still plenty to do. We've got to work our way through the engine. Hopefully not stripping the bottom end, but certainly things like, let me take the covers off this, certainly things like the clutch we need to look at and take that off and check what the plates etc are like. We'll probably upgrade the points to electronic ignition. There's the timing belts, which will need changing. I haven't ordered those yet, but they'll need changing, and possibly these pulleys as well. And then, let me get the wheel out of the way. We've got the water pump down there, so we'll need to be checking that out. And then obviously we'll be taking the covers off and checking valves and springs and all the rest of it. So the one thing I have spotted on the, which is a slight concern, is if I get down here, you can see in there that is a right mess. I don't know what's happening there. It looks like a load of, I don't know what's been put in there, to be honest, but it looks like it's been stuffed full of something to try and stop it from leaking. I'm not sure, so we'll need to investigate that further as well. So along with the engine and these parts, there's still a fair bit to do. So let's crack on with some. Okay, so first up is fork legs. I've got two sets of these. They look identical with the exception of these end pieces, or these caps. The standard caps the bike would have come with, as I understand it, would have been these, which is just, in that case, a rusty one, but basically a cap with an Allen bolt head in there. So that's pretty sure, I'm pretty sure that's how they would have come. These ones, having done a bit of research, I think because perhaps the suspension was a bit lacking on the early bikes, I think what somebody's done here is they fitted these caps, which look like sort of aftermarket caps to me. And I've taken it out, but in one of these was a valve, air valve. So I think this was a way of trying to improve the performance of these shock absorbers. But I have tried, and these caps do fit on those forks and the other way around. So I'm not intending to use these caps. I'm going to go back to what would have been on the bike originally. So I was hoping that at least two of these inner fork legs were going to be okay from the point of view of pitting and all the rest of it. That one's particularly bad with a load of rust on it. Might just get away with that one, but again, there's some, I can feel it with my nail, there's some proper scratches in these. And of course I don't know whether they're straight, although I can check that once I've taken them apart by rolling on I've got a flat marble surface I can roll them on to see whether they're straight or not. But anyway, I think looking at the state of these, I think they're going to cause problems further down the line. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to strip all these, and I'll use the best pair of outer legs, stanchions, whatever you call them. I can never remember which way around they are. And they'll polish up. In fact, they have been polished before by the looks of it. I don't think there's any lacquer on those. These ones look like they've got the factory finish on them. They've got some lacquer on, and you've got all the little worms and stuff where salt or whatever's got in under them. They're obviously all going to need new seals. You can just tell they're leaking. I have actually emptied the oil out of these before, and then put the little screws back in. But I think the best thing to do now is stop waffling, and let's get a couple of these stripped down, see what they look like. Okay, first thing we need to do is remove this or loosen this bolt here. This bolt is what holds the fork leg itself inside the slider. So sometimes these will come out with an impact driver, sometimes they won't, and the governing inside will just turn with this. Let's see what happens. If that does happen, there are ways around that. You can get like an old broom handle or something, put it down from the inside, try and jam it into whatever's turning, stop it twisting. But we'll give this a go, see what happens. Okay, that's good. So in this case, that's come out. I'm just going to put that back in there for now, loosely. I'm assuming these may have been apart relatively recently, but I'm not really sure. I've turned the fork leg round in the vise. This vise, I've just a couple of bits of aluminium in there, so that just stops the vise marking the aluminium, because obviously the jaws of the vise are considerably harder than this alloy. So I've got a very soft aluminium pieces of metal in there just to stop it marking this. Right, the reason I've pointed this leg up is because if there's any oil left in here, I don't want it all pouring out when I undo this cap. So next job is to get the cap off. This one's obviously quite stiff. Oh, there we go. Sometimes it helps try and do it up as well as undoing it. Sometimes it's just enough to break the corrosion or rust or whatever that's in there that's holding it. Just move it up a little bit more. Okay, so let's get this out of here. Sometimes with these, when you take them off, they go shooting across the room. So it's best to try and keep out of the way. I think with these ones, the spring's actually under very little tension with these. Okay, there it comes. Okay, so all we've got on there is that cap, and we've got an O-ring on there as well, just to hold all the oil in. Okay, so let's put that out of the way. And then our fork spring should, let's get a cloth because it might be covered in oil. Our fork spring should now come all the way out. Just take note when you take these out, because sometimes they can be wound so that the springs at one end are tighter than they are at the other. So you just need to know which way round it's gone in. Now, we don't know whether it's been put back together properly or not, but I would say that the springs, the coils on this end, are slightly tighter than the ones at that end. Whether that's right or not, I don't know. I have to refer to the manual when we put all this back together. We've got to measure the length of these springs and everything anyway yet, to make sure that they're within spec. So okay, I'm going to go back to that bolt, Allen bolt, right at the bottom, the fork sliding did earlier. Take that right out. Should be a washer in there with that. And then, yeah, there is a washer in there. Manual says there should be a washer, and there is a washer. So that should have freed up the fork leg now to be pulled out of the slider. Let's have a look. Okay, and that is our fork leg. Now, still some disassembly to do, but we're getting there. Right, so now we need to get the damper rod out of the fork leg. So that comes out like so, but you can't take it any further than that. So you have to take off this part here, which apparently is a push fit. which it is. So that comes off. And then our damper rod, all being well, should slide out the other end. Okay. Wow, that's nasty. That's really quite nasty. Something tells me this fork oil has not been changed for, well, ever, frankly. So that's the inner fork leg completely disassembled now. And as you can see, there's quite a bit of wear on the hard chrome down here. So I'm going to be sending these off to a place that re-hard chromes these, and they also make sure they're nice and straight. If they're bent, they straighten them out. I think the problem with early Goldwings was they weren't known for having particularly beefy front suspension. These were quite narrow, really, and they used to bend quite a lot, I think. So yeah, they're going to need to be re-chromed. See, this one's in particularly poor condition. So that's that part of it. So basically, if we just lay that out, so we've got the fork leg itself, inner fork leg itself, and then in order of how the parts were, we had this piece, which is known as a damper rod seat, and then we've got our damper rod itself. So that basically fitted on there like that, and then this screw, which was at the bottom of the fork leg, which is the one we took out. That's what holds all of that in place. What we haven't spoken about is that on the end of this is like a split collar. Don't know if you can see this. Yeah, you can just see the split on there. So that's obviously intended. It's meant to be like that. I'm assuming all these parts can be purchased from wherever and replaced. But yeah, that's basically the assembly as it came out with the screw. With the screw on the end there, like that. These springs, I've just taken a look in the manual, and they are the close coils here. Should be at the top of the fork leg, and ours weren't. They were at the bottom, so that's been assembled incorrectly at some point in the past. So moving on to the outer leg, or the slider, we've got to get our dust seal off. I'm just trying it with the trusty, very blunt Swiss Army knife. If we just get that in there, give that twist. There we go. Okay, so there's our dust cap, and then in there you can see this clip. In there, that's got to come out next. I think I've just discovered why this one was possibly leaking. There's no seal in there, believe it or not. That there is the clip that should hold the seal in, and in that gap there should be the seal. We've got the backing washer, but there's literally no seal in this fork. Well, that's a first. I've never seen that before. Presumably he was hoping to I'll probably replace it. Presumably he was going to do that at some point, but yeah, literally no seal in there at all. That's our backing washer. That's meant to be there, so at least that's there. Oh, actually there's two, look. Don't think there's meant thin one and a thick one. I'll check the parts catalogue, but I'm pretty sure the parts catalogue only suggests that there's one in there, so I'll have to take a view on that. What I've not come across before on these is that that bush in there, that grey bush, is integral to this lower fork leg. So according to the Climber manual and the Haynes manual, you can't remove that to renew it, which seems a bit odd. So presumably, if that's outside of its tolerance, when I measure it, I'm going to have to hope that one of the other three lower fork legs is within tolerance, so I'm going to have to start looking for new fork outer fork legs. But we'll cross that bridge when we come to it. So there you go. That is a completely disassembled fork leg with the dust cover, the snap ring, 2 washers, but there should only be one, I think. No actual seal at all in there. The spring with the closer coils should go towards the top. Our inner fork leg, which in this case is quite badly scored and worn, but we can get that re-chromed, re-hard chromed. And then we've got our damper rod and our top cap, which I probably should have sent off to be zinc plated with the rest of the bits and pieces, but I hadn't got to that stage when I needed to take everything. So that's all right, I can do my own zinc plating, so I can do that as well. I'm sure there'll be other bits that I need to do as I go along. Just silly bits like that, these studs and this nut, etc. there, bolt, etc. there. Okay, so that's one down, 3 to go. So here's an example of where the bolt right at the end is basically spinning, and the damper rod inside is spinning with it. So I can't get it undone, and I can't get that inner leg out. So what we're going to do is we're going to use this, or rather we're going to use the other end of this. And I'm sure there are more elegant ways of doing this, but it usually works for me. So we're going to put this in, and I'm going to put that right up to the end, so it's hopefully dug into the end of the damper bar. Obviously I'm using wood so I don't damage anything inside here. And now that's in, with a bit of luck, if I hold that, so it's going the right way. There we go. Screw out. So might look a bit Heath Robinson, but it's not going to damage anything. Gets the job done. I've come to the conclusion that some people shouldn't be allowed near machinery. So I've had 2 of these forks with no sealing at all, and the 2 that have got seals in, I don't necessarily think they are the right seal, because let me see if I can find something to point with. That there is the snap ring, and there's a massive gap between there and the end of that seal, so that can't be right. And the other thing I've noticed, and this was the case on the other one as well, I'll just peel that back. It might be easier if I do it with my finger. In there is the spring, and that spring is meant, or that seal is meant to have been fitted in the other way round, so that the spring is at the bottom. The spring always goes to the side of the thing you want to seal. So even if these were new, they wouldn't have done a very good job of sealing the fork, because they're actually in the wrong way up. Right, now I've got over the fact that the forks that were fitted on the bike had no fork seals in them, and the other 2 did have fork seals but the wrong way up. It's time to measure up and check the specification of these parts to see whether they're serviceable or not. So first thing we'll do is we'll measure the free length of the spring. So according to the workshop manual, where are we? Free length should be 519 and no less than 495. So basically its service limit is 495. So if we measure this, we have 503, I think that is. 503, possibly 504. So bearing in mind we could go all the way down to 495, which is there. We've got something like 15 millimeters to play with there before it's out of its service limit, according to the workshop manual. It's not where it should be. It should be up at 519, and it's at about 513, 514. But it's not as bad as I was expecting. So I would say they're serviceable. I'll measure the other ones. If there's any, what I'll do is I'll choose the 2 longest ones, is what it boils down to, because they'll stay within their service limits for a longer period of time. So that's the first measurement done. Second measurement is to measure the outside diameter of the inside fork leg. And you do this at several points along the area where it sits inside the outer leg. So according to the manual, okay, so we're looking at, if it's less than 36.9 millimeters, or it's got visible damage, we should be replacing it. Well, clearly there's visible damage on this, quite a lot. You know, that's really quite rigid, that is. The climber manual does say that these really suffer, and I think again it's just the fact that these fork legs are just not up to the job, to be perfectly honest. But anyway, let's measure these and see what we've got. And we're going to measure it in several places. So that is 36.9. 36.7. Let's just try that again there. 36.8. So I would say that's below. 36.8. That's below. Let's try and write down there. 36.7. So there's no doubt about it. That particular one is outside of the specification. It's gone beyond its serviceable life in theory. But I'm guessing when I measure the other three, they're all going to be very similar. It's a 45-year-old bike. I don't think these have ever been re-chromed before. So I think what I'm going to do is I'll send these to a fork specialist, and what they'll be able to do is they'll basically smooth all these off, and then they'll rebuild this to what it should have been when it came out of the factory. So I'm not too worried about that. That's fine. That's not fine because it's going to cost more money to do, but these things have got to be done. And then the other thing, which is slightly more concerning, is this, because there's a bushing in here, which according to the climber, the panes and their service manual, is an integral part of this. You can't change it. I will check online to see whether people have got them out and changed them, because that seems a bit odd to me, but I can feel a lip around the other side of it, so I might be able to get something in to knock it out or pull it out. But anyway, let's measure it for a start and see if we've actually got a problem with it. So the way to do this is I've got these internal diameter measuring tools, different widths, and if you turn the end of this, if you watch the top of it, they just pop out. Okay, so what you do is you can press them in like that. You put it into the end of whatever you want to measure, like so. Turn the knurl, and basically you then just measure the internal diameter of that. Do that back up so they can't move, and then you measure. Just make sure this is zeroed. This is the nastiest piece of Chinesium I think I've ever seen, to be honest. I really must get a proper metal one. I can't imagine this is particularly accurate, but okay. Right, so that is showing 37 mil. What did I say it's supposed to be? Replace the tube if the diameter is less than 36.9. Sorry, tell a lie, that's the outer diameter one. Apologies. Measure the inside diameter of the slider. Replace if it's greater than 37.25. Right. So unfortunately, well, this has only got one decimal place to it, but it's showing 37, so it's not 37.2. So therefore, that is within service limits. Let's just try that once more. Just drop that in there. Just let that centre. Nip it up. And we'll try that once more. Oops. Yeah, I've still got 37. So I'm going to take that as being within spec, within its service limit. So I'll measure the others, see what they're at. Obviously, again, I'll choose the ones that have got the smallest internal bores because they'll last longer. And then we'll look at starting to get some of these bits polished up. Okay, so that's it for today's video. I hope you enjoyed it. If you have, please give it a big thumbs up, subscribe down below, and I will see you in the next video.